Inequalities. An inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares two expressions using the symbol less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or just not equal to. So first let's look at the first inequality example that they give us. Here, a is greater than 5. This is the mathematical sentence that we're going to compare the two expressions with. So a is greater than 5. Okay, so first thing we want to think about is what are some possible solutions? Sorry, gotta get my pen. What are some possible solutions for a? Usually when we're exploring inequalities, we want to talk about what are some solutions, what could not be some solutions, and it's really just as simple as thinking of what a could be. Could a equal 4? No, a could not equal 4 because then therefore a is not greater than 5, obviously, on a number line. But a could be, a possible solution is that a could equal to 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. We can keep going until infinity, basically. We could also choose some decimal and fraction answers too, not necessarily some, but many decimal and fraction answers. We could also say that a could be equal to 5.5, because technically 5.5 is greater than 5. So you can see where that's going. You can choose all kinds of fractions and decimals in between. Okay, so now we understand what solutions are. But let's look about how we can graph the inequality. And this is where we're going to take a look at the blue box here. When you graph an inequality, you're going to graph it on a number line. And you're going to reflect all the solutions for possibly what a could be on the number line. And usually you get a blank number line like this, and you pretty much have to label it on your own. And you could label it however you want, start at any number, end at any number that you want. Just make sure that the number line is within reason. So let's, since we're going to be looking at 5, let's, start with maybe a 0 here, a 1 here, a 2 here. I like to show a lot of numbers just to get the whole general idea of where the number line is going, especially the number that you're reflecting from the inequality, and label other numbers around it. Make sure you go a few numbers behind it, a few numbers in front of it, to really get a good idea of how this inequality is working. Okay, so I have -2 to 8 here. So this is my basic everyday number line, and again, it has to make sense and it has to have reason, and you can't skip numbers unless you're going to skip count evenly between all of them. But like we discussed in class, you do have to be fair with your number line. Okay, with that said, let's go and look at the blue box here on the side. Now, how we graph an inequality is, first thing we want to do is decide, is it greater than, less than? And if so, we're going to use an open circle. If it's greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, we're going to use a closed circle. And this is how we're going to do it. First of all, I'm going to use a different color to just show the big highlight on how to do that. And since it is just greater than, it does not have that equal to sign underneath it, I'm going to just draw an open circle at the 5. Okay? I'm not going to close it because we do not have that equal to sign underneath the greater than sign. And now what I'm going to draw is all the possible solutions. I'm going to draw a thick highlighted line that's going to reflect all the possible solutions of what a could be on this number line. And since I already know one of the solutions is 6, 7, 8, 9, I can look at any one of those solutions and then just start drawing the line in that direction of where the rest of my solutions go. Okay, you just kind of want to highlight it, make it a little extra thick. And then you draw an arrow pointing it in the direction of where all the possible solutions of a could be, obviously to infinity. And that's one way that you can graph an inequality on a number line. Okay, this next example says that x is less than or equal to 24. So I know some possible solutions for x at this point can be Well, let's list all possible solutions for x. Let me get a bigger pen here. X could be, well, we definitely know it could be 24 because it says it's less than or equal to 24. We have that little equal sign there, so we can immediately start with 24. That does apply in this particular inequality. But I could also say that since it's less than as well, I could say it's 23. I could say 22. 21, so on and so forth. I can go all the way to the negative numbers and infinity. I could use any decimals or fractions in between as well. Okay, so now how are we going to graph this on the number line? Again, you get a blank number line and you decide where you're going to start and where you're going to draw your tick marks and how you want to label your line, just as long as it makes sense, your number line. So, you know, being that we're in a large number 24, you know, maybe I'll just start with 20 here. So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Like I said, I like to go a little beyond outside either edge of the number, go a little before, a little after, just to show really the true story of what's happening on the number line. Okay, so now here I'm going to get ready and decide if I'm going to use an open or closed circle based on my blue box here, the little rules that I have there. And being that it is less than or equal to, it's going to have to be a closed circle around 24. So I'm going to draw that circle and color it in. And now I'm going to show all my solutions for the possible x on my number line, and they all go back this direction, because x can be anything less than that. So I'm going to highlight it, color it in. Make sure you end it with that arrow at the edge, because that does indicate that you're going to infinity. It never stops. And all my solutions for x are on the blue highlighted line. Okay, my last example actually shows a inequality grafted already on the number line, and I have to indicate what that inequality is, what that mathematical number sentence is that applies to this graph. So I'm going to use my rules of the open and closed circle, and I'm going to look at that circle. Notice that it's open, and so I know I have to think ahead. It's either going to be greater than or less than. But let's first take a look at what number it's talking about, what number it's reflecting. And we do see that it's in between two numbers on our number line here. We have a -1 and 0. And just from our understanding of a negative, on the negatives in a number line, the right in between spot there is possibly 1.5. I'm going to assume that it is. We're not going to make it too difficult here. So that is a -1/2. Okay? And all my possible solutions for x is really what I'm comparing to here. And in the middle is where I want to put that inequality. So here's where I'm going to decide. Okay, I know that I have to put a greater than sign or a less than sign. I cannot use, I'm not going to use these greater than or equal to, less than or equal to signs, because I do have that open circle. So they don't even count. So now I'm going to decide, well, okay, is x less than or is x greater than -2? And obviously it's going in the direction of the right-hand side of the number line. It's pointing towards the larger numbers. I know that 0 can be a solution, 1 can be a solution, 2 could be a solution, so on and so forth. So therefore x must be greater than -1/2.